Well, here we are back at home after 280 miles on the Appalachian Trail, 40 in Georgia and 240 in Virginia. So after all of that, we finally know what we're going to call ourselves, what we were and what we're going to be.
Place to sign in, which we will do, saying we are starting today. What it was a health hike, really, for both of us, but especially for G, who is now called Flash. A little bit of a spoiler alert there.
And for Arnie, it's preparation for a possible 2018 Thru Hike.
If this body will get in the shape it has to get into. But I want to add in there too that this is also going to be a continuing health hike for Flash. Out and back hikes while he is living in
the van.
But a different van. A better van?
A bigger van.
With a little more.
Yeah, with a few more
amenities?
Accoutrements.
Oh, accoutrements. Okay, good. But not the back of a minivan with a mattress in it where all we can do is sleep in it. At least he'll be able to move around a little bit. He will be the hostel that I stay at periodically, every 4 or 5 days or so. And that'll help us save a little money. But I have to be strong enough to go from trailhead to trailhead, or at least within range for his out and back health hike, so that we can be together at night. So I'll probably camp within a few miles of the trailheads, and every 4 days or 5 days or so stay in the van as a little hostel. So that's kind of a very rough, tentative plan that we're working on. Are we excited?
Totally pumped.
So 10 months we were out in the woods, either in the van or hiking. And the hiking was always if we were healthy enough and if the weather was safe for us, then we were hiking. And then we were at home for some family issues, and then actually 1 month when he had pneumonia and 1 month when I had pneumonia. So other than that, during that 10 months, we were in a van, and we'll show you a picture that confirms our commitment that we made to do this. After we got back, after the approach trail, and we were off trail, and we got me a new pack, and then we came back, came up the mile to from the Springer Mountain parking lot up to the rock, and we sat on the rock, and you get to watch the intro. And what's going on there, G?
Reality sets in, okay? I realize that I am woefully unprepared for what's before me.
He was depressed. That's the bottom line. What you're about to see is him depressed.
The enormity of the task, and I am not suited for it. It's kind of a all-encompassing thing. You can't separate the state of fitness that you're in and how you're going to react to the trail. They are both really interdependent. The better shape you're in, the more you're going to enjoy it. And the worse shape you're in, really, it's going to be a chore. So that being said, for me it was a chore.
And he was depressed.
Because it was a chore.
Absolutely.
Nancy and I are here at the southern terminus of the Appalachian Trail on Springer Mountain, ready to head north.
What do you think so far?
Through hell.
No, come on.
Had a bad day.
What'd you think of the approach trail?
It was dry. It was dry and very difficult. Very rocky, weedy, a lot of elevation. Very strenuous.
Let us know what we needed to do. Get rid of some weight.
Yeah.
Get different packs.
Got Nancy a new pack. We cut out a bunch of weight, and hopefully we're ready to go north with
Very, very slowly.
yeah, slowly.
And I'm only committing to 1 mile. So the other thing that we are going to show, I'm putting in a video that's from, I don't know how many hiking days forward, but we were in Virginia. We had jumped up to Virginia because of the fires, which you'll see. But anyway, in this video, I give a dissertation, and it's kind of long, but it talks about his physical status. And I want to go ahead and put that in here because then you'll understand what he's up against and how incredibly brave it was of him to even go out there, and then even more brave to stay out there, and even more brave to be willing to go back again in 2018. So courageous, truly. And so, you know, I thought about maybe trying to shorten this little clip, but the facts are in there. If you want to listen to it all to really know what his physical status is, then you can listen through the whole thing. And then after that, we'll show you Springer Mountain and our first campfire. So.
Yeah, and I'd like to give a shout out to Arnie here because, you know, I don't know many people that would put up with what she had to put up with in order for me to do the miles that I did. It was incredible what she went through in order to get me where I ultimately wound up. And I came off in a lot better shape than it was when I started, And I give a lot of credit to her. I was persistent, but if she hadn't been there urging me along at every step of the way, I never would have made it. And so I say that to, you know, to give her praise for doing that, and also to kind of give some information out to people that, you know, may have marginal health for an undertaking like this, you know, to kind of show you what you're up against, you know. And if you haven't got somebody like Arnie there to encourage you and push you along, you know, you're not going to last very long out there. It really is harder than you think it is. And it doesn't ease into it, okay? It just jumps up and smacks you in the face, okay, and says, "You like that? I got plenty more." Okay. So, yeah.
Pretty well sums it up, yep. All right, well, that's really sweet. You know, we want him to be better, and that's really the motivating factor. That is the main motivating factor. Even with the consideration of what we're going to do in 2018, I would not go do that if he wasn't going to go with me and be there every night, as many nights as possible. There may be some nights when the car's, you know, too far and I'll have to spend the night on the trail by myself or with other thru hikers, but, you know, I'm not doing it without him. So we're a team, and we're trying to figure out a way that the team can stay together and both of us push ourselves as far as we can push ourselves. So that's the plan for the future, but for now, we're going to let you see what is the physical status of G, aka Flash, per a southbound thru hiker who gave him this new trail name eventually. Flash Gordon, who is so fast he can hike 4 miles a day.
Let's hear it out there. Yay!
All right, here it is. Most everybody was real excited about, all our friends and family, what we were wanting to do when we told people we were getting ready to go start hiking on the Appalachian Trail. But there were a few people who've, you know, been around G a lot, worked with him, seen how hard it is for him just to get around. And so you might ask, you know, you're an RN, for crying out loud. why would you even consider taking someone that medically disabled, really, you know, being a part of that? Well, the thing is, we talked to his doctor, who gave him the okay. I talked at length to my doctor about it, just for her input. And here's what's happened since he started hiking. His blood sugar A1C was up over 10. He was 50 pounds heavier. His A1C now is staying in the 6s. Every now and then, if we're off trail a long time, you know, it might push it up over 7. And the difference in what he can eat in those two situations, he's a person that loves to eat. And while we're out here hiking, he can eat virtually anything he wants, including all those things that yours truly fusses at him about. That, you know, I know make his sugar go up and into that higher A1C, and he can eat just about anything he wants. But the biggest thing is understanding that he had bypass surgery when he was 47 years old. 20 years ago this year. 10 years later, he had a little episode, ended up in the hospital. And that original bypass surgery, we didn't even know it till 10 years later, but apparently he did have a little mild heart attack. But, and he had 5 major blockages. I mean, we're talking 95%, 90%. It's just amazing that the man was up and working. But anyway, had a great surgeon, good surgery. 3 weeks after the surgery, he goes back to work. And 10 years later, he has this little episode. Well, in that situation, we're in a different place, different hospital, and that cardiologist just did a heart cath and, you know, let him know what his blockages were at that point, and that surgery would be very, very complicated because of where these blockages were in relation to his original surgery. So I think he made up his mind right then and there that he wasn't going to have another surgery. I mean, he's a fighter, he fights, he's definitely determined to live, but he just, you know, wasn't going to do surgery unless it became an absolute emergency kind of thing, which I cautioned him against, but, you know, each person's got to make their own decision, so. And put him on some different medications. So for 10 years, he's been going along, sometimes gaining weight, sometimes eating wrong, sometimes, but mostly just not doing anything really that really worked his cardiovascular system. And he is beginning to go downhill this past year, in addition to his weight getting a bit high again. So why would we be out here? Well, what are his choices? He can stay at home, sit in the recliner, watch the Discovery Channel, and get worse and worse and worse until there's no more worse to get to. Or he could do something that would stress his body to the point safely of potentially improving his cardiovascular status. And that's why I was willing to do this. Because he, for 6-7 years since he retired, he really hasn't done anything that would do that. So he would like to live as long as possible and be as healthy as possible. I'd like to have him around as long as possible and for him to be as healthy as possible. And you get out here, you know, we scope it out, we look at it, we consider what he's up against every single day. And we actually have our ponchos that we can use as hammocks. So we could virtually stop anywhere on the trail if we had to. And originally, I mean, I honestly, shows you how ignorant I was at the time, but I honestly thought he would be able to work up to 8 or 9 miles a day after a while. And that first night, he hiked 1 mile in 6 hours. So since then, he's gotten to where he averages about a half a mile every hour. So it'd take him 2 hours to do 1 mile. And then at sometimes he goes faster than that. But so you start going and you're gonna put cardiovascular stress on your body. He's on medication that prevents his heart rate from going over 80 to 85 to 90. And so he gets short of breath really quickly. You go up 2 flights of stairs and check your pulse, because your pulse goes up, which gets more blood to the heart and, you know, just gives you the oxygen you need to keep going up those stairs. Well, his isn't going to do that, so he has to stop and wait. And so that's the way we do this. We go a little bit and we wait, and we go a little bit and we wait, we go a little bit and we wait. And in that process, hopefully, his cardiovascular status is improving. He's lost about 50 pounds since we initially made the decision to do it. And like I said, his blood sugar has come down. And when he's feeling good, I think he does enjoy it some, not as much as me. I mean, I just love being in the woods. I love hiking. Well, he's, you know, I think for him it's more of like kind of a job. But he does enjoy the fact that we're doing something together. And it's just that every step for him is hard. There's never an easy mile. So that gives you an idea. I'm sorry it was so long. I just really thought it would be best to just go ahead and put in there what I talked about while I was hiking that day. And it gave all the details, so why do it again? And now we're going to let you see him on the trail on a day when he was having to go through a process that he has to go through every morning, I guess, pretty much before he starts hiking or as he starts hiking, and if you rest, right, for like 15, 20 minutes during the day. Is that correct?
That's right.
Is that all we get?
We only bought the basic package, okay?
I mean, the clip's going to pretty well explain it, but is there anything else you want to say?
Yeah, for you guys that and gals that have, you know, cardiovascular disease, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, if you sit down and rest for a little while, those vessels that you work so hard to open up just kind of close right back up again. And you have to start all over. So anytime you sit down for, say, 20 minutes, you're back to square one. And you have to work back up and get everything dilated and flowing as best as it's going to flow. It's a process.
Here's G explaining what he has to go through. Tell the folks how you feel. Tell them what you think so far.
Well, I'm trying to get my blood vessels to open up, so I start real slow and then try to keep that pace up.
But we haven't got there yet.
Yeah. So I'm taking it. I'm not pushing to the limit because we got an awful lot to do. So I'm just kind of going till I feel the burn a little bit in my legs or my wind starting to reach a max, and then I stop and try to rest up. it's real easy real easy for me anyway to get burned out right here in the beginning and not have anything left in the tank when we get closer to the top. So you have to pay attention when you got conditions like mine to pace yourself best you can. And hope you can keep it going, maybe get a little better as time goes by. I feel a little stronger than previous.
I will say this, for you people that want to come out and get a little AT experience, all right, drive up to the Springer parking lot. Do not take the road that we took, which was a wagon road, which I've already talked about.
Well, that means, excuse me, that means drive up from like Amicalola, then you go around to the west, and it's a 6 mile road up. The 6 mile road up, though, is not too bad,
Right.
which is the way that you usually get directions to get up to Springer Mountain.
Well maintained, and for a gravel road, it's pretty good. But if you just want to go up and kind of nibble at the cake, you know, a little bit, and then go back home, well, here's a place to do it, all right? You can hike up to the top of Springer Mountain. It's about 400 feet, a lot of rocks, a lot of roots.
1
Good
mile.
workout.
1 mile.
1 mile. Come back down, a lot of rocks, a lot of roots. Hey, but you did it.
1 mile.
1 mile. And then you turn around, you go across the parking lot, and you hike the next section, okay? By far, probably one of the easier sections you'll ever encounter on the trail. It's wide, virtually no rocks, a couple of small streams. It's visually pleasant. You go through a nice forest with great tall trees, virtually no undergrowth, and it's beautiful.
Just keep in mind that for us, a section is about 3 miles.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, you may walk this in a couple of hours and come back and then go eat lunch, all right? For us, it was an all-day trip.
Right.
And I felt good about it. You can do that and go back home and say, you know, I like the AT. Yeah,
And
it
in
wasn't
fact,
too bad.
actually, I mean, we should throw this out there. 15 to 20 years ago, we actually drove to Amicalola and then around to Springer Mountain, and we did walk up the first mile of the Appalachian Trail. That was kind of we really do want to do this when we turn 65 and retire, and we'll be very healthy, of course, and so it'll be a piece of cake. But we did. We went up the mile and down the mile, and you had cardiovascular disease. It was after his first bypass surgery, but he was in relatively good condition. But
Yeah, I don't remember it being that big a deal.
yeah, it was, well, you were still pretty slow, but better than now.
Yeah, yeah.
Definitely better than now, but
Yeah, that first mile, if I hadn't been with Arnie, I'd have gone back to the parking lot and called it a day.
so then it was 16, 17 years later before we're out there again. So, but that is a good idea though. Go hike, or just go hike the approach trail, and you can see what you're up against.
No approach trail. Need
Well,
to not do the approach trail.
Back to business. That's the AT North. Coming out of the Springer Summit, southern terminus area, headed north. And because we were off trail, for a while after the approach trail, we came back up this 1 mile uphill, and now it's a rocky downhill to get back down to the 1 mile mark. Get down here and you can sort of see just those of us that are older and not quite as agile as we were when we were younger. You just really got to be careful. To me, this is beautiful. Just walking through the forest. Now, what you hear so often and is so true, you can't see that this is going down. Continuing down that first mile north, downhill. The rocks are really helpful as far as when they're kind of flat like this, help prevent slipping. But these roots, they just look like they're sitting out there trying to trip you. this is what you do when, when you want to rest. You find a rock, you sit on the rock, take a break, and then you get up and you head down that way. There you can see the rocks that you are walking between and around and over. Continuing forward, northward on the first few miles of the AT. Sure is pretty. You can see a little bit through there. And off to the right it goes uphill. I think I heard a deer earlier, but I never could get sight of it. I thought this little sloping outcropping looked kind of neat. Not a place you'd want to fall. Drops down after that slope right there, probably 100 feet. And this is our first decent campfire. Not bad for a couple of rookies. Should you love always keeps us in line. So, this isn't G, as you can tell. As was mentioned on the top of Springer Mountain, we got me a new pack. When we started out, we had basically 5 months to buy every piece of gear for 2 people, and that made it difficult for us to get, maybe all the ultralight or lightweight stuff we would have liked to have gotten. We looked at it, that was the first place we would go, and then checking out the money and looking at what we could do. So, as we've said all along through these videos, we did as much as we can do. Biggest thing we did was at this change before we went back to Springer, we took a lot of stuff out of our packs that turned out we didn't need. So I'm sorry, it's not near as funny as G is, but anyway, so I had a pack that our daughter had actually used that we had bought for her, an Arc'teryx. It was 10, 12 years old, great pack, but it was 8.5 pounds with nothing in it. And then it ended up, it didn't fit me, and that was really worse than the weight. So what I learned from that experience on the approach trail and the back and forths that I did on it, all right, whatever I do, I'm getting a pack that fits me correctly and that holds the weight. I had to find a way to get the weight on my hips instead of, if it pulls on the shoulder here, then I get a backache. If it's too much weight on my back, then my back starts aching sooner. So I had to get a pack that puts that weight on my hips, keeps it there with 25 to 30 pounds at most total weight between what may be on the hips and what's in the pack, or anything that might be attached to the straps here pulling down on my shoulders. So there was a real evolution over time, which I'm not going to bore you with. There's a lot of videos where you see me with just a lot of stuff hanging on there. And it really was just my attempt to protect my back from having so much stress on it. So some of it, you look at it and you think that's absurd. Well, basically it was stuff that came out of the pack and into other places, and just the evolutionary process I went through to get to where we are now. And the pack that we chose, I've thought about it. I've looked at lighter weight packs. This is the Osprey Aura 65. And it fits me perfectly, and it puts the weight where I need the weight to be, especially now with all the changes that I've made. So the big thing is, do I want to take another 2 pounds off, or 2.5 pounds, or even 3, and get a lighter weight pack? Well, not if it's not going to fit me the way this does and distribute the weight the way this does. I'd rather carry the extra 3 pounds if that 3 pounds is going to keep the weight where I need it to be for my particular situation. And I'll continue looking at them, but until there's one that I'm absolutely certain is going to protect. Now that I've figured out how to protect the back from getting all the back and the neck pain, even when I'm carrying 30 to 35 pounds in the winter, really, really cold winter, then for my massively cold-natured person that I am, then we'll stick with this one. So we're going to move Shijula over here a little bit, and I'll show it to you. And what we're looking at is where I ended up. So you don't need to see me now, you just need to see this. But 65 AG has a zipper down here, and I've gone through a number of different arrangements of where to put stuff, and it continually evolves. So you don't need to know what I put where, but it does have the zipper down here, so a lot of people like to just put their tent or their sleeping bag, whatever, down in this bottom part. But then it has these straps here that are great. We do use, again, back issues. You've got to find a way to be comfortable on the ground and stay warmer when it's cold, when you're extremely cold-natured. So in addition to our Thermarest, we had the silver Reflectix and that we would put under it to help keep us warm. So that would be rolled up and be under here. Great place to carry it. Not only that, it makes a kickstand. And when I set the pack down, it stands up, keeps it from falling over. And then have the stretchy compartment back here, which is really great for carrying a lot of stuff. Will tell you, I learned I don't put my puffy back there after the time I was going across a stream with a fairly strong current, and I slipped and landed on my back, and my puffy was right here, and it got totally soaked. So from that time forward, it goes inside the pack and inside the trash compactor bag that we keep inside. So then coming around here, it's got some other hooks here to hang things on. And I went ahead and left this on, and this is just a carabiner with a little bag that I can put some stuff in. Got your side pockets. I do not carry water in a reservoir because it's just more weight on my back. So again, I wanted to get everything as much out of here, up here as I can. In fact, the lid is gone, and what was in the lid I keep in a little pouch on the side, again, on the waist, so the weight's on my hip. Works for me. If anybody knows where I can get a lightweight, some kind of pouch strong enough to, and large enough to carry a liter of water to replace this with, I've cut off every extra piece of material on it to make it as lightweight as possible, and it really only weighs a couple of ounces. I know it looks heavy, but it's not. But I've got, I can keep some snacks or different things in the pouch here, and I have one on each side that I've attached. I keep the liter of Gatorade in one, which has ended up preventing leg cramps at night. Once we started doing that, I no longer have leg cramps at night. So I am pretty religious about drinking Gatorade during the day, and carrying Gatorade powder with us so that I can make more as the day goes on. And then it does have the zipper pouch here. To me, this is pretty useless. I mean, it just, I can barely get my car keys in there when I'm walking out here trying to get in shape. And then you've got the places here where you can hook things, and this is my wipe my face rag. Another one there. The nice thing and the little bit of a hassle thing about these packs is the way that this curves. It's a little bit tough to get it on at times, but that's only really when the pack is too heavy. If it's not too heavy, you know, you lift it up and just kind of lift it up, put this around, works great. And then the other side around, and it hugs you really nicely. So that pretty well sums it up. Like I said, you'll see some things that you'll be saying, I can't believe, what is that woman got on her pack? But trust me, it was an evolution to get weight off my back and to get weight off my shoulders. And I had tried carrying some of the things up here to put the weight on the strap, but then the strap ended up pulling on my shoulder and creating massive neck pain. So this is what I came to, this is what works for me, and until I find something that works better, that's what we'll be sticking with. 25 pounds, counting everything on the pack, in the pack, and on my body is perfect weight. 30 pounds I'm okay with, 35 I can do, if necessary, counting water and food and winter clothing and things that might be necessary if I end up out there and hiking in cold weather. So with this pack, I can carry 35 pounds and I don't get a backache. And so as long as my legs are strong enough and my other muscles are strong enough, and I'm strong enough to lift it up and put it down, which I'm not there yet with 35 pounds, but hopefully will be within another month or two. As long as I can do that, then this is the perfect pack for me at this time. Over time, we're going to try and continue to, in fact, the reason G's not here is he's working. And I'll show you a little shot of what he's been doing. Oh, there he is, hard at work. Are you having fun, G?
That's another day above ground.
Such a sense of humor. Well, wave at everybody and we'll be on our way. Bye-bye. He is doing that to help get the money that we can use to get some more lighter weight options. And I'll continue paring it down. I mean, I'm pretty determined at this point. I've been out there enough to know. But, you know, big thing is get in shape. So some of these videos we'll be showing, we're combining, you know, the show what we did with our hike and also what we're doing to prepare for next year. May as well just put the two together because what we're doing for the future really is based on the things we learned when we were out there before. So thanks to everybody for watching, and get out there and hike.